Hi, everyone. Thanks for joining us. Hi, Sharon.
Hello.
It's an honor and a pleasure to have Sharon Doubiago read for us today. Sharon, I thought I would say a few words about you, and then we could talk for a few minutes, and then you could read your poetry. Born and raised in Southern California, Sharon Doubiago received her BA and MA in English from Cal State University, Los Angeles. She has had at least 11 books of poetry and 4 memoirs published. The Book of Seeing with One's Eyes, Grey Wolf Press, was named one of the 10 best books of 1988 by the Bloomsbury Review. It received Gloria Steinem's Woman Writer Award and was selected to the Oregon Culture Heritage List, Literary Oregon 100 Books, 1800 to 2000. Sharon lived for years in 3 vans, Roses, Psyche, and Valentine. I quote, "Writing full-time rather than working full-time in order to write part-time." End of quote. I love her book-length poems, Hard Country and Psyche Drives the Coast. The latter won the Oregon Book Award for poetry. Her writing has made us all richer. It's personal, intimate, filled with nature, California, and American history and myths. We're with her in her van as she drives up and down the West Coast, across America. We're with her in love, lovemaking, family, loss, in her search for justice and equality. She has put the mind and the body with a sensuous, erudite, captivating, eloquent narrative into the poem that by its very nature enraptures this reader. Sharon, I would just like to ask you a few questions before you read. First, when did you write your first poem?
I didn't write until I was 32. I'd taken a vow after my father molested me, and I wrote to complete, and then complete creative writing to get my master's degree, and then took a vow not to be a writer for what had come out of me. And I did get the MA, though. And then I moved to Mendocino, and there were all sorts of poets and that I could live with. There, the ethos, the poetry, and a realization that I had stopped writing in order to protect my father and not tell the truth. I was very attracted, if I get to that point, to language poetry, believe it or not. And I know now, I understand now that it was denial, and it was trying to get away from storyline. Because the story I was in denial of is what would come out.
Well, maybe that answers my next question, but my next question was going to be, what is it that attracts you to poetry? And in particular, what draws you to the long poem?
My first poets were all long poets, long form poets. Charles Olson, H.D., Robert Duncan, and there are more. They were all long poets. I was at Cal State, LA, and that's who I was taught. I didn't know that there was anything, particularly strange about writing long form. And I think I also, and I still struggle with it, the short poem is a little, it's limited. It's limiting, and I wanted to go more.
Well, I was going to ask you something that you already answered about your influences, but you mentioned those people, and I suspected some of those. I also thought maybe Thomas McGrath might be in the mix, or did that come much later?
That came much later. He did become a good friend.
Yeah. Well, you've done marvelous work, and I just want to say one last thing before you begin reading to everyone. Sharon Doubiago is one of our finest poets of the whole epic. Sharon Doubiago.
Well, with all of that, I'm going to start by reading a couple pages of prose. It's from my memoir, which is Childhood, Second Grade. And I wanted to read this. I chose to read this because you all have some affiliation with Hollywood. So this is, I'm in the second grade. All summer and now fall, ever since I played Granny in a second grade play, there are letters and phone calls from movie scouts who saw me or heard about me, wanting to sign me as a child star. Mama keeps up her lectures about Shirley Temple not having a normal childhood, the danger of selling your soul to Hollywood. One day, a letter from the president of the Screen Actors Guild, Ronald Reagan, comes. Mama is impressed. Grandma says, "You're a Reagan too." My mother's name was Nancy Reagan. Mama says most mothers would give their eye tooth for this, and starts talking about Shirley Temple again. How her mother ought to be ashamed of herself, any mother who would sell her own child. Hollywood mothers are seeking to fulfill their own unfulfilled longings through their daughters, and this is wrong. But it's a good sign that I was discovered playing an old woman. Maybe you are a true actress, Sharon. Even so, she's afraid. For all Mama's fear and disgust, the next week, they take me to an office on Sunset Boulevard to a Hollywood movie agent. It's over 100 degrees as we drive north. His best scout saw me in the two school plays as the angel guarding baby Jesus and his granny, the cackling old woman. My hair turned into a halo heart. My hair turned into a silver bun. I rocked and chewed and made witty remarks and puns to all the young ones. For all his persistence, the movie agent doesn't seem happy to see us. He acts like we wanted to see him, like we've finally fallen into his clutches. His dark face pours forth sweat. His fat mouth rolls a cigar around his teeth, and he keeps sneering at Daddy. He leans way back in his navy blue suit in his swivel chair, puts his feet up on the desk. All right, Goldilocks, let's see how cute you can be. Mama and Daddy are seated on the side wall, Mama with her claustrophobia closest to the door. I'm in the chair in front of the big desk. Daddy is staring at me. I can see and hear the traffic down below on boiling Sunset. Recite nursery rhymes, the movie agent instructs. I don't know any Jack and Jill went up the hill. They're so boring. Mary had a little lamb in fleece. I'm standing here and all the world is turning white as snow, even me. My eyes see something deep in the linoleum. My head is bending towards it. Come on, girl. Your parents are counting on you. You have to be able to take direction. The room is filling up with white cigar smoke. I can't move. No words will come out. It's awful to disappoint him. My parents know I'm not cute. Bridget has the personality. Pretty is as pretty does. To act like he wants me to act would not be pretty, would be embarrassing for all of us. To act like he wants me to act would be to forget who I am. On the ride home, Daddy's smoking faster than ever at the wheel. Me in the back seat, still completely mute. Mama says this is a blessing in disguise. Sharon is not the movie star type. Putting it together now, I see my mother's desperation. She was afraid she was dying, that we were becoming orphans. She was trying to open the career opportunity, a way for me to support myself, the whole family. Until we left Hollydale 5.5 years later, letters and phone calls came regularly from, I think that's enough. Hollydale is Southgate, South LA, if you aren't aware of that. So, yes, I'm going to read mainly from Love on the Street. These are my last two books, and Naked to the Earth. Love on the Street, which is University of Pittsburgh. I'll do this. Sorry, I thought I had this prepared. Okay, ghost dance, I'll read. I'll read Ghost Dance. I mean, I'm really into history and the geography of the land. I'll start with Los Angeles River. It goes, I don't think it does now, but when I was a child, it went right through Hollydale. it was the line between Hollydale and Southgate. Southgate then, Hollydale soon became Southgate, Hollydale. And what separated us was the Los Angeles River. My head on the sand, looking up to the sky, was Earth, was me, behind or under, or inside the earth, exactly me, looking up, drawing, but flash floods to come. Who I am, shell on the curve of the horizon, glowing sand, gull behind the wave, struggling to come in. My eyes, the fish, flashing, my hair, the clouds, flooding. I saw the stars, so it would say, even when you're dry, LA, you are here. This next one is someone remarked, a critic remarked this very recently last week. I read it, that I'm a confessional poet, but often right in the middle of my poem, I hate the word confession anyway, that label, but often halfway through my poems there's a big switch, and this poem, if I can find it, is an example of that. It's called Ghost Dance, and it brings in the history of San Diego County, northeastern San Diego County, where at 13 we moved, when I was 13, to northeast San Diego, where there are 3 Indian reservations. Ghost Dance. The baton twirler twirls home to Ramona, untwirls. I was a baton twirler. Near the end of the second tune, I let the music sweep away the fear. I meet you, beautiful dancer, black, beady, wiry edge out there, hombre, ayoka, in the teepee room. And we untwirl the night to twilight. We untwirl the curse to dawn. 4 times the double cross, blind blue morning glory of Datura, to Lakchi, burning crystal bullets from heaven on our child's self-immolation, our new child, Coyote, back across our sister, Takati, Ramon. Your mama, your grandma, your great-grandpa, mestizo, spirit, and steel on fire, high plants of your tooled boots, flash in my sequence, my flying and flaming bar, doing fire triplets through the eye of the needle, spinning the linga sharir, the long body of the dream, Puchipa. Kumaye, Tate, Waila, joyous whirling dance. Back at the border, a classmate who never left jeers, girl, did you ever love Ramona? Oh, love, to make the new one, the black widow hangs herself upside down in the web till her red hourglass shows, struts to the right of his testosterone, backwards to the west. I loved the land, the 100 million year old boulders, veins of gold, silver quartz, and the sand, the valley glowing fire, smoking crystal, my tumor line, our Palomar, and the big one that will jump from fault to fault across the full zone. I love the people of Ramona, the way my father said that, baton on fire, both ends coming through my thighs. I had to catch their jeering both sides of me, and Ramon, their son still in hiding. Oh, love, untwirl the vortex of sorrow, undo all of it, the border, make it all unhappy. Part 3, Ramona. Ungrind the whitish, raise up the acorns, grow them back on the oaks, unravel the baskets back to grass, back to seed, back to earth, the bones and flesh of your family, ungrind the granite grinding poles. Unclimb to escape up Mesa Grande, your grandparents hiding in the boulders and brush, unbear the sun, the hunger, the relentless hunt for you, fall back down to San Pasquale. Undest them to your pregnancy of them, your great-grandparents' homes burning, unsee your sisters, mothers, brothers, rape, the weed of everything unraveling, even Chinook before your eyes, you inside your mother, inside them, unrape the rapist, dance back the fire, to Amakawa, and find the 80 bows, the 1,500 arrows, the club, unflog the lash from every back, uncripple the warriors, the mothers grow back the ears of the 4 tribes who were helping, suck back the bullets of the soldiers, burning the ones who refused to come out of the hut, unconvict the natives of plotting to kill Christians, uncondemn Francisco Ortega's sentence of death, unexecute the first execution in California, the chiefs of Ramona, we will love, Aaron, Echo, Alcuri, Takaki, and Ramona, unrape Ramon, raping yourself into your conqueror to bed. If you didn't figure out the town of Ramona, Northeast San Diego County, this is it's in this one. This is from Body and Soul, and it's this is Kerouac and Monroe on Kalelak. Kalelak is the last beach in the northwest of Washington before you hit Canada. It's a long, very beautiful beach. Kerouac and Monroe on Kalelak. 1. Long ago, they found each other here. She wanted to be like the wild stallion she had seen in Nevada. He had lost his mind in Massachusetts. They sat all day on the long beach. They drank beer propped against drowned trees. Sometimes they spoke. Mostly they stared at the sea, low tide, high. Their famous faces flared on the screen of the sky. Their faces grew tired, turned red. Their limbs dry. The sun fell. They became driftwood. They were dying, she said. Tell me of sex. He recited Wilkie's ninth elegy. She heard only the line and escapes in ecstasy beyond the violin. Tell me, she cried, of when you were a kid. 2. She slid her hand down the haggard belly, held him. He was warm. He stirred. He stayed small. He slept. She watched 12 pelicans row the horizon. She laid her head on the blade of his shoulder. They saw his face above the waves. It was the saddest face she had ever seen. She saw the face held knowledge of her death. She saw the man might be the man who murders her. They walked miles up the beach looking for a bed. He quoted poets who had slept here. He said he knew the island was Tatoosh from the poems. He said poets find their lovers here. Later, they found a road sign that named the island Destruction. In a tavern on the highway, an Indian was saying, hunting elk is a disease. I seen an elk hunter pump 7 bullets into an elk that wasn't there, and he didn't even have his gun. Tell me about sex, she said as they drank. Tell me who you are. He said, I've been ruthless. The bartender asked, where are you from? You look familiar, like a couple I know in Wyoming. The Indian went on, you can take any road out of here, sleep overnight, hear them, the mating calls, cougar, lynx, black bear, this time of year. They walked back through flash piles. It was dark, he said. I learned to be ruthless. From the church, I took a vow of poverty. She searched the sky for the southern stars. She saw how far she had come. Shit, she said. I was born in L.A. 4. They made a bed beneath cedar on a bluff above the sea. She would have preferred the beach. He was afraid of rain. She was glad to know of something he felt. They made a small fire. They cooked soup in the can. They covered themselves with a single blanket. 5. When first they loved, when her body lifted off the needles, when her body rose and churned like the demonic waves, when her cries lifted to the night, screamed back at them like gulls. She knew why no man had ever stayed with her. 6. When second they fucked, she sobbed, screamed. It was not pleasure. He folded his arms around her back, lifted her from the ground. The water rolled from her face. He said, what is my name? Then when they loved again, she remembered, this may be the man who kills me. She felt his hands form the body she knew as a girl. She saw the raccoons watching them, and stars light, their needles glistened. She thought, cougar, lynx, black bear. And such a light body he laid on her, so thin, his ribs. It was hard to find. He fled more than she. Are you ever... She searched Schroeder for the word emotional. When he was through, he poured his dark face into her pale hair. She felt the body heave in the attempt to cry. 8. She watched the virgin slip into the water. She woke him. Tell me about Rufus. He told her. She lay quiet. This man could kill her. She watched the scales of love go down. She woke him. He whispered, don't be ruthless with me. You can get whatever you want without being ruthless. He promised. He slept. Of course, she said to the scorpion, I can take it. He was awake. He said, I know you can. Okay, I need to calm down, I know. I do have another Hollywood poem about it. Maybe I didn't. Maybe you can go get it. It's the Husband Arcane, and I'll read it later.
Sharon, you didn't read the last 5 sections of that. You stopped at 8.
I didn't read what?
There's more. Could you read the rest of it? Is that? I'm sorry to.
It seemed like it. I had. What page do you have?
I have page 20 in.
I have 2 books. One is a collected poem, so.
I have it. Love on the Streets, page 20.
Yeah.
You stopped at the bottom of 19.
Yeah. Okay. 20 and 21. 9. Once from the night she heard the Indian again. Wednesday is hump night. That's halfway over the hump. She saw the raccoons getting ready. Cougar, black bear. She said, ruthless means a promise is nothing. He was awake. He said, I know. I thought of that. 10. When again they loved as the hunter drowned, as the night rolled over the hump of the sun, he shook her shoulders and cried, do you even know my name? 11. In the silver light of morning, after the coldest hour, they loved again. The tide was high. Water rushed the bluff. Cedar flared above them. He buried his mouth in the wild yellow grass between her legs. The seasons changed. It was summer when they met. Now the trees flamed and fell. 12. He took his shirt from her. He leaned over the bluff. The sky and sea found his body for her. Tell me, she said, about 6. He put on his black leather cap, the saddest face she'd ever seen, smiled. He said, my name is Jack, your name is Marilyn, and that is why we sojourn here alone on Kalela. 13. They are so far from home. She says his name. He touches her lips. She will escape into ecstasy beyond the violin. When he can't cry, he will see his own face above the waves. He will shoot the vicious elk. He will be without his gun. He will be ruthless. Thank you for
Thank you. I love that poem so much, and I just wanted to selfishly hear the whole thing. So.
Oh, I'm glad.
Thank you.
Very glad. Again, it's confusing because these poems are, most of them are in 2 books.
Mm-hmm.
This is and Before the Fire. The poem. This is the death of my mother. She died at like 9:30, and she was cremated at 3:30. And she's taken about 50 miles north, and so this poem is mainly of that 50 miles. And I'm in there's a van that's carrying her body, and I am behind in my own vehicle. What? Oh, it's Bandon, Oregon, to Reedsport, Oregon, and it's all on the coast. Very beautiful land.
It's page 139 in this book, if you want.
Yeah. Okay. I'm bent over her before the oven door of the lower Umpqua crematory. The first time since infancy, I am without veils to her. She without the mask, nursing me. I am talking to her. I am not stopping. My mouth all over the flesh of her face, big, lumpy Cherokee cheekbones we first came to in America, the sand dunes. We hated the body. I'm telling her it's okay, it won't hurt. I'm telling her how great she is, how beautiful. I am smoothing her skin. I was always afraid to touch the most beautiful face. Her eyes are the bluest sky blue again, and her smile is of ecstasy. The wisest bliss. Her fingers curl before her mouth delicately. Did he smooth her face in the moments I let her go? The agony on her face when we carried her out, highest earthbound into the bright sun. Or had she become the ecstasy of death she so believed and wanted us to believe in? Now, most heavy, dead weight dawn, I'm murmuring to the lover on the pillow beside me, murmuring in her ear like I'm waking to the hungry baby finally, now forever outside me. I followed in her Buick behind the mortician's van, 50 miles north up the coast. She wrapped in her yellow rose sheet and his maroon rug on the floor in the back. My father's ashes in the walnut urn beside me. Up through midsummer Oregon coast traffic, all my life I've longed to see through walls, but I never dreamed you were in the passing truck. Like the old tradition of the procession, he delighted, the only our two vehicles. Your father wanted to be cremated, she said again last week. I never wanted that until he did, for our ashes to be put together and spread over the hills of Ramona. Finally, I wanted what he wanted. I see the red bricks just like a barbecue oven, he warned. I see the bricklayers stacking them, the temperatures set. He's giving me the instructions as left us alone. Take your time, all as in waiting for me to slide her into this cosmic blue, all engraved in the tile wreath around the door. My tongue on her face could be a poem about learning to talk. She taught me to talk. Could be a poem about learning to read. She, a great poem about learning to write this. It's a poem about words, breath of wind blowing up through the body, Cherokee wind in my mouth, on her nipples, all my first year. About learning to write the love on the pillows beside you, without reservations, without infidelities, like letting the milk down to the baby, babbling the milk back to her mouth to write the trail of tears out of the caves. All my life I've longed for the coastline I still cannot write. All this year in the bath with her to form words with the breathing out of the cavity of my heart and stomach, her soft southern drawl. To her most astonishing face, Milky Way star above her eyes, sky blue again, not the iron that was in them when she drilled into me again, that last minute, her third eye she always warned she had. Laid out like a dead bird, all the roadkill we passed, so soul still coming through the smile of her ecstasy. I was born to grieve for you, Mama, what you couldn't do. I was born to be your greatest lover, to write your story. I became your wife, to be the husband, faithful to you. And I'll read, I have another one. Oh, the other one. Another book. This is another poem to her as she's dying. It's much shorter. Loving her at last. My 15-year-old self, naked, walked into your room a while ago. Oh no, this is not. This is about me. Loving her at last. I'm sorry I'm so nervous. I'm sorry, surprised. My 15-year-old self, naked, walked into the room a while ago, here on 64 Elgin Park, San Francisco. She just came in, moved around, then sat on the edge of the bed. The first time I'd seen her since back then. I didn't move for fear she'd disappear, though she was so ominous that was impossible. Ida Alan, Her breasts were blue-veined beneath white marble. I smelled her. I could have touched her blue-veined muscled thigh. I was breathing inside her. I was bleeding. I saw for the first time that she was beautiful. She who had made me so miserable, a spectacle, a freak. Her body, her thoughts, her heart, her presence. I fled ever since. I had not realized my impoverished self, the state of my soul, until she walked into this room. I had not realized how much I had aged, but in she walked, oh my, in perfect preservation, just hiding all this time, moved around for my observation, as if she'd never left. Okay. How to make love to a man. Well, keep going, get body and soul. Okay, since I announced how to make love to a man. Okay, this is the last poem in Make It to the Earth, and sort of, for me, brings in Southern California beaches, being on them much, and my philosophy and aesthetic, I guess. Pacific Ocean breaks, my poetics. They come in from every direction, no knowing which way they'll turn, break the wild, foamy in excess, their beauty even before they crash, so monstrously huge, their lust, their light. Upon the sand, upon each other, breathtaking, from where on earth did this come? Sometimes disappointing, piddly, you turn away, but they don't stop, wave upon wave, bowing in, so conflicting, their path, so contrary, the silver-soaked shore, going south, head ripped off, lying behind the next tunnel, too immense, a girl drowning in the riptide, nothing makes her feel more at home, seeing them coming, nothing makes her more the poet than these long silver lines coming in and going back, exploding their own order, all civil orders, the churning, mud gold blue of the terraced undertow in front, slanting off the opposite way, the one behind colliding, never stop, too many, they don't sum up, the light riding the universe, the bioluminescences of autumn, the girl's neon body, face down in the sand, gasping for air, pound and roar, ever-changing rhythm, moan of earth turning over to the blinding sun eye, starsuit of heaven, her son and daughter inside, drifting to shore. Okay, what was the poem I promised to read? I had the wrong book.
How to Make Love to a Man.
Yeah.
It's on 125 in Love on the Streets.
What was it?
125.
Yeah, How to Make Love to a Man. Run your tongue down the two tendons, both sides of his neck. Run your tongue back and forth along the ridge of the underside. Run your tongue along the ridges of the head, inside his fingers, thighs, Adam's apple, Achilles tendon, wet the rigid shaft of his calf, the long hair striking from his toes, and the ones lying down over them like little blankets. Love his rigid soul. Think glacially, constant motion, advancing slowly. Remember, penis envy is what men have of each other. Remember, no man can will an erection. Have him enter you a while, then leave chest position to dissolve the ridges. Remember, he's terrified. Remember, it's all he wants. Remember, he seeks confidence you know how to handle his body. You'll grip him firmly. Remember, for a man, the importance of technique. Remember, like gripping a tennis racket. Remember, he's emotional. When he comes, be careful not to tighten your grip. Be careful not to forget the battlefields he comes to you from. That forget them, the lies he must overcome to come to you. Forget that to be a man is to be unjust. Remember, his mother removed him from their bed, deposited him on a narrow mattress with bars in the cold cell alone. Make love to all his ex-loves who live in him as surely as he makes love to yours, though he seeks to banish them. Though he will say so kindly, I wish you were free, he wishes to be free. Help him with trance, wear silk, light candles, wear Levi's and flannel, wear nothing, don't undress. Remember, just as all. Remember, no jerky movements. Remember, his greatest fear, he won't be able to please you, or lose it, or let you get down. Remember your walls to clasp and unclasp him. Some will resent this, you will know who. Remember, every man is different, and when it becomes the dance with each spirit, when the river is more swift than flesh, when you break through the place, remember, expose yourself, let him see you. When he comes, be careful not to change. Remember the ridges that you roamed to get here, the fall either side, when the road began, where you are going. When he begins to ascend toward the body cavity, forming a firm rounded mass, when the ocean synchronistically booms approval, the edge of aggression. When you ride his aggression, so you remember everything. Remember, this is the time, this is earth, this is life, this is you. Remember, so great is his love. He wants all women. Yeah. Okay. I have a full-length poem about Marilyn. No, OJ and what's her name? What was her name?
Nicole?
Nicole. Yeah. It's called The Husband Arcane, the Arcane of All. So I will read one poem from that. The bitch erotic, the Holy Ghost, on page 17.
Yes.
The bitch erotic, the Holy Ghost. And it's got a quote from Wordsworth at the beginning. I, many flowering islands be, in the waters of wide agony. I visit you in jail. I move so close to you. I'm in danger of falling in. Now you are like, oh, do you remember this story, love, when the mask of the owl is put over my head and a chain attached to one of the rings in my labia? I rise from the bed. I fight him, my body against his body, to the confusion of the jailers. His small penetrates me. He does not protect me. I beat his chest, his heart. If I turn on the light, he will disappear. We return home to their wives, my strange words in their ears. I remember my brothers talking, the hate fuck. In time, I learned to love this place, the engagement. I put my body all the way in to the games, the danger, you. Why else are we here, if not to course this matter? Sometimes we even want pain as proof of our passage, unbearable. To put ourselves up against it, unbearable. To put ourselves up against it, unbearable. To embrace the physical as proof that we are here, so in love we are with it, this material, our souls become out of longing for it. Why the unmarked, the unmolested are sometimes envious. I love to place my body in the field of yours. I love to be masterfully handled as my mother first did. If I were good enough, he'd know I love him. Now he slips down the hill. He disappears, disappointed in me. I bring you breakfast in bed, sheer pleasure, wear only my apron, my tray. I remember the first time I wanted to show myself to you. That's when I wrote my first haiku. Visible, my love, face, love lines of my adore, adoration, hypnosis. I love to dance for you, to present myself, a gift to you, a body, unfathomable mystery. Here, yes, do that. Oh, yes, there. Please do that. Now, just don't reduce me. Don't call this masochism. Just give me back your open pores pounding sweat into mine, sliding into you, slipping into me. I take the body all the way. What are the genders for? One asks. Toys for sex. Someone laughs. I have felt him again, his grief. I love it best when it is white noise, fully one flesh, the simultaneous pull of my nipples, suck of your cock, this bang of your body, bang of mine exploding on you, time exploding inside, that I do not go with him is unspeakable. So I wake on the coroner slab, so I wake inside you, father, brother, husband, son, angel killer, so I walk the walk. So I walk the street as a woman you killed, so you cut my throat. I couldn't cut yours. Sorry, I'm not reading well. Guess I'm nervous. Okay. Crystal Bullet. Crystal Bullet was the granddaughter of Carolyn Caiozzo, the poet, and she committed suicide. She was a student of mine, and in Portland, Oregon, and she was 15, and she wrote extraordinary poetry. So this is when she committed suicide. Her body was found in Eugene, Oregon. Crystal Bullet. Undress. Lower yourself.
What's the title, Sharon?
It's Crystal Bullet. Is the title.
Okay.
Undress. Lower yourself into the tub. Pour the gasoline over your head and swallow your name, the crystal meth on which your parents conceived you. When the universe started turning, when the whirling started, when the forms started, oh love, unform, the curse, unbead the story, unwrite from now to then, from the way you lived it to what it was born to be, not by living it again from the beginning as if you don't know what's coming. Like the match, hey Yoka, blow the roof off, this motel from which your father kidnapped you from your mother before you can remember. Burn back into the world, become the burning world you so love, you will not bear what it has turned into. Unlock the plate collisions, suck back the volcanoes, the crystal uplift of the 100-million-year-old granite, the 18-million-year-old eruptions, be the eruption, unflamed crystal, come back, life. I don't know whether I need to say this with this poem, but I will. My grandson is half Palestinian, so I've been involved, psychically with that whole story, very painful story, and once again, I can't find that whole, phenomenon history. I spent a lot of time preparing for this reading. I don't know what happened. Okay, here it is. Bulletin board, their faces. Arabic, the mother, Emma, mama, only mommy. I set those days before those boys, their 19 faces. These are, if you remember, these are the 19, supposedly the 19 killers who brought down the 9/11. Those guys were behind the bombing. I set those days before those boys, their 19 faces tacked to the board. I didn't know what to do. Their 38 eyes pinned at the heart of my town. Who cut them out? Tacked them here. Why? Love thy enemy or kill him? We sipped our coffees, their faces stared at us. We read the news. I knew the danger, ever growing, of knowing it. They boarded the planes. They gave up their only lives to tell us. I heard again and again, my people, even the poet screaming, make no mistake, they will kill us all. Morning after morning, with my cookie and latte, their faces hovered in our bakery aroma. My eyes began to see us through theirs, their only faces they gave up, Their mouths began to speak a language I understood. Emma, mommy. Make no mistake, I know they took our lives too. An eye for an eye is required of sides. As the days and weeks went by, as the summer fog cleared to winter clarity, as our perpetual war against them continued, despicable but predictable as the seasons, they were every morning at our breakfast table, each as familiar as any of us with our particular personality and tragic story. How in the shock and awe they found again the innocence they knew in their mother's arms, how in the rage they rediscovered themselves, our humanity. So one morning come spring, I took them down from the board, afraid of who was seeing me, afraid more of diminishing my community by depriving it of their eyes, of desecrating the holy altar of their faces. But by then, I could not bear for anyone who might enter our family room to defile them. I felt like taking them down off the cross, like the other Marys taking Mary's son down for her, swathing him in spices, ointments, and clean linen, and laying him in the new tomb no one had ever laid in before. It sounded like okay. It's called Body Fever Now. Body Fever Now. This morning I'm in grief for my body, the coming loss of it. How magnificently my body has served me, carries my memories and abuses, scars and poems, my nightmares, my lovers, my babies. I grieve for my body, for its entire physicality. I look down in the shower. Oh, to imagine you dead. If I could love all of you, you wouldn't go away. But when you do go, I want to be buried in earth, not consumed in fire, air, or water. I want to go back to earth, not kept from earth in a coffin. I want to be with all of you who make up earth. I want to be earth. My mother in her bathtub lectures, her body afloat in the bubbles. Then my sister, the energy medicine body healer, must be why Charles Olson was my first poet. I recognize his projected verse, the Native American Indian us, Mama. We are participants, this is Olson. We are participants in the past right now as we are in what we call reality. We are perpendicular axes of planes, which are constantly being intersected by horizontal planes of experience coming in from the past, coming up from the ground, and going out to the future. It is at the innumerable points of intersection that images and events spring up like tastes in the mouth. The bodies I have loved come to me at my intersections, not just my lovers, but my long ago schoolmates, my friends and acquaintances, those who still won't come to me in friendship, and all those I haven't known, the strangers, the poets, my family, above all, my children, and the great, great dead flying now in air, the crows, the ravens, the gulls, the double-crested cormorants, my mother, the pigeon still carrying the messages, my father, the devastating bald eagle. How much more time do I have?
We've got about 3 minutes left. Maybe we should just talk for a couple minutes, unless you have another poem you want to read right now. What would you like to do? Would you like to talk a couple minutes, or would you like to read another poem?
Well, as you can hear, I'm rather inarticulate right now. Let me find some easy poem. Yeah. There's a short one called Quake. I wake not dead, you beyond me, murdered. A man in uniform being murdered. The man killing him in uniform. I wake having made it through the night as you haven't. So much earth on the top, my eyes filling with sand, my flesh birthing as flies, my blood river to the sea. So much earth made this terror, so unjust this flesh. So many dead I wake to prayers not to wake. Buried in a nightmare, O earth, of the murdered wake us without our uniforms. Okay.
Well, that's beautiful, and you're honest, you go so deep, Sharon, and I just sit here, I love your writing. We have 2 minutes left. I would just like, if I may, to ask you one question, because I've read just about every poetry book and prose book you've read, and I would just like to ask you, I assume you're living in North Beach right now, is that correct?
Yes.
What would, I mean, right now we're all dealing with COVID-19, but let's just take, what do you do today, or what will you be doing tomorrow? What is a ordinary day like for you right now during this time?
I'm writing. I'm trying to finish 2 more books before you know what.
Well, you've been marvelous, and I was amazed when you said you didn't start writing until you were 32 years old, because you've just been blazing away for so long, and you're a blessing. I've seen you read at Beyond Broke. I've seen you read at the Chateau Marmont, and we've talked several times and communicated, and it's just an honor and a pure delight to have you on Zoom, MPTF, and all the people here, all the residents here, I'm sure are thrilled to listen and see you read. And you are one person I know whose writing is primary. You primarily write. I mean, that's who you are. And it's just defined every fiber of your soul and emotions and knowledge and being. And so I want to thank you for all of us, all of the fellow poets that came here today, Allison from Wisconsin, Cecilia from the Fairfax area, Phoebe from Pasadena, Jim and his partner Celeste in Hollywood, and Jennifer Clymer, the director here. So thank you right now one more time. And now I'm going to return it to Jennifer Clymer. Thank you.
Thank you. And hello, everybody.